Welcome to the Fundamentals of Piano Theory, Level 2. In this video, I'm going to go over Units 12, 13, 14, and 15. Units 12, 13, and 14 are just short 2-page units, and Chapter 15 is your review terms unit with the crossword puzzle. Okay, hopping in on page 44. Today we're learning about cadences. The book describes cadences as the combination of chords used at the end of a phrase, section, or piece of music. 3 types of cadences use primary triads: dominant to tonic, subdominant to tonic, and tonic to dominant. These each have a name, so dominant to tonic is called authentic cadence. And you're used to hearing this at the ends of pieces. The end. It's a very final sounding cadence. Some people think of cadences as the punctuation at the end of sentences, and the authentic cadence is the period. Okay, the plagal cadence. Sometimes the plagal cadence is called the Amen cadence because you hear it at church when the choirs sing. And that's just going from subdominant to tonic, 4-1. It's also final sounding, but not as final sounding as the authentic cadence. And then the half cadence is tonic to dominant, 1-5, and it is kind of a question, not very final at all. Okay, so they're wanting us to write out these 3 types of cadences in these keys on page 44. Page 45 is also talking about common note cadences. On 44, we're only playing these cadences or writing these cadences in root position. But on 45, we're coming from an inversion using a common tone. So we have a dominant in first inversion. Our root is on the top. And we're going to a tonic chord, keeping that same tone. So in all of your cadences on page 45, you should have 2 notes that are the same, that stay the same between the 2 chords. So those are common note cadences. And that should do it for that unit. Going on to unit 13. This is the primary chord progression. We are going to be playing the tonic, the subdominant, the dominant, and the tonic. And we're doing that in a way where we keep those common tones that we were just talking about. So the C stays the same. Here, actually, everything changes. Nothing stays the same there. And then the G stays the same. So we're moving from chord to chord with the least possible motion. So everything moves either by step or skip. So that is the primary chord progression that they want you to write out in Unit 13 for all these keys. They've done C for you, so it should look like this. Stacked root position, second inversion, separation for the bottom note, First inversion, separation for the top note, back to your root chord. And then in page 47, they're going to introduce the dominant 7th chord. So if we go to the 5th chord, and we add a 7th, the root 3rd, 5th, and 7th on top, that's the dominant 7th chord. And you know this chord from rock and roll from the 50s. It's kind of a fun, tangy chord. So that is a new chord that occurs on the 5th scale degree. It's called the dominant 7th, or they call it the 5/7. And they've written it out for you in all of its inversions. Because there's a 4th note, you get an extra inversion. Root position, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion. But most of the time in this book, you're going to see it in first inversion, and we're going to leave out the D. Just because it's an easier chord to play with only 3 notes than 4. So we're going to draw 5/7s going to 1 in the key of C and G and F. So remember, that should be a 3-note chord with the 5th omitted. There's the dominant 7th for the key of F. Take my 5th out in first inversion. There's my chord. All right, and that will do it for Unit 13. Moving on to Unit 14. Harmonizing and transposing. We struggle with this one. All right, so we have a melody. We need to harmonize by putting these chords in the left hand. Let me go over the rules again of when we do what. We play the tonic when our right hand melody has scale degrees 1, 3, and 5. We play the subdominant when our right hand melodies have 1, 4, and 6 scale degrees. And we play our dominant when we have scale degrees 2, 4, 5, and 7. So let's do this first one together. We are in the key of C major. So here's my C major scale, and here are my C major scale degrees. So looking at measure 1, we have a C, an E, and a G. Scale degrees 1, 3, and 5. And when we 1, 3, and 5, we play the tonic. Because they're going to match. They're made up of the same scale degrees. 1, 3, and 5 is what the tonic is made out of. All right, next. I was afraid that would happen. Next, we have an F, an A, and a C. F is 4, A is 6, and C is 1. That is a textbook example of the subdominant chord. So we are going to draw in a subdominant chord, because those tones will match and it'll sound good together. All right. Next, we have a G, a B, a D, and a B. Our G is a 5. Our B is a 7. Our D is a 2. Back to our B being a 5. Those all match with my dominant chord. So I'm going to draw my dominant chord here. Wow, that was horrible. There we go. And finally, my last notes are C, E, C, which is 1, 3, 1. Those match most with our tonic. So here's my melody all by itself. And here's my melody with my chords. All right, so we had a tonic, a subdominant, a dominant, going back to a tonic. So because you know that, you can write those in for our new key, D major. All right. Now for D major, what was our C is going to become our D, and so on down this line. That kind of lines up, not really. Let's try that. Okay. So in our first measure, we had C, E, G, E, and you will notice that they are all skips. We skip the space notes. So down here, what was C, E, G, E is going to become D, F sharp, A, F sharp. D, F sharp, A, F sharp. And I should have colored those in. Okay, and we just follow that pattern. F, A, C is going to become G, B, D. And notice there also skips. So go ahead and do that transposition there. Part 3, we are doing the same thing, harmonizing like I just showed you how to harmonize. Doing the same for number 4. 4, we're transposing number 3 into F major. And we're doing the same for 5 and 6, going from C major to G major. This time they want us to draw our triads in our inversion, in our chord progression inversion, rather than in root position. So that's all for Unit 14. Unit 15 is our review of signs and terms. A few new ones. Tempos, character, going over a few instructional signs, and then we have our matching crossword puzzle. So that should do it for units 12, 13, 14, 15. Go ahead and get those uploaded for me to grade. Thank you.